Have you heard of one Humpty Dumpty? How he fell with a roll and a rumble, and fell off like Lord Oliver Crumple by the butt of the magazine wall.
Welcome to the opening pages of James Joyce's divine and delirious comedy, Finnegans Wake. In this episode, number 2, we'll hear Irish-Canadian actor and my good friend and colleague, Richard Harte, reading the opening 5 pages of Joyce's last novel, recorded with a live audience in my home in Toronto. I'm Adam Seelig, the director of the reading you'll soon hear. Finnegans Wake is a production of One Little Goat Theatre Company. For the next 5 years, One Little Goat will film and record all 17 chapters, roughly 30 hours, of Joyce's Finnegans Wake before live audiences in various locations, screening and releasing them along the way with the aim of completing the entire book in time for its 90th birthday, May the 4th of 2029. One Little Goat Theatre Company is an official charity in Canada and the United States. If you'd like to support our work, please visit us online at www.onelittlegoat.org to make a charitable donation. And if monetary support is not an option, you can still help this podcast by rating and reviewing it and by spreading the word. To get in touch, you'll find our email address on the One Little Goat Theatre Company website, and we'd love to hear from you. Some of you listening know a lot more about this novel than I, and some of you are new to it entirely. I'm going to say a few things about Finnegans Wake in general and today's reading in particular because I think it's helpful to have some ideas and signposts going in. There's really no end to what we can read into this extraordinary book, which seems to have as many interpretations as it does readers. Everyone will find something new here. I'm simply going to share some of what I find amazing about it, often with thanks to others, including my partner in this project, Richard Harte, and the many people who have commented on the Wake since its publication 85 years ago. If you prefer to hear Richard's reading and Richard's reading alone, without any preamble, however illuminating such preamble may be, then feel free to jump ahead. I don't mind in the least. In episode 1, we listened to the folk song that gave Finnegans Wake its title and its main theme, the rise and fall and rise again, and fall and rise, etc., of humanity. That rising and falling motion carries over from the title to the first word we see and hear in the book, riverrun, a word of Joyce's invention that combines river and run to form riverrun. A word that is central to the overall movement of this book with its riverrun of language, of musical sound, with music and sound being so important to Joyce that his whole approach could be summarized in the words of French poet Stéphane Mallarmé, to give music back to poetry. Riverrun. That first word brings us naturally to water. Richard Ellmann's biography describes a friend complaining to Joyce that Finnegans Wake is all nonsense, to which the author responded, "It is an attempt to subordinate words to the rhythm of water." Ellmann adds, and this is my favorite moment in the biography, Joyce felt some misgivings about Finnegans Wake the night it was finished, and went down to the Seine, Joyce lived in Paris at the time, to listen by one of the bridges to the waters. He came back content. Riverrun, like so many words in the Wake, generates many more meanings. Roland McHugh's annotations, which cover nearly every word and phrase of the novel in mind-blowing detail, offers us riverrun as an excursion on a river, fitting for those of us embarking on reading the Wake. John Gordon invites us to hear riverrun as rêverons, French for we will dream, and as reverend, which will be significant later in the novel. Reverend is also close to reverence. Reverence for the river before us, which for Joyce and the Wake, so grounded in the city of Dublin, is the river Liffey. Riverrun also points us to streams, in this case the stream of consciousness narratives Joyce famously explored, or more precisely, Joyce's previous novel, Ulysses, explores streams of consciousness, while Finnegans Wake explores streams of unconsciousness. Ulysses is the daytime novel that unfolds chronologically. Finnegans Wake is the night novel that unfolds in a dream. It is a dream book. Which brings us to a gloss on riverrun that French-Canadian poet Thierry Bissonnette and I came up with recently in conversation, and that is rêverons, meaning round dream. Finnegans Wake is famously a circular novel whose opening line is actually a continuation of the novel's last. So what we have in Finnegans Wake is a circular dream novel, a rounded dream, a riverrun, a riverrun. It brings to mind Shakespeare's Prospero and the Tempest. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. Finnegans Wake is a dream world that's mostly non-linear, and it's a dream language that's often nonsensical, a dream dialect comprised of as many languages as Joyce could possibly stuff in there. Incredibly, the Wake includes phrases, words, and phonemes from, according to McHugh, 62 languages. And remember, kids, this was before the internets. They include, get ready, Albanian, Amaro, an Italian criminal slang, Anglo-Irish, Anglo-Indian, Armenian, Eastern dialect, Arabic, Basque, Bog Latin, Besh Lamer, a Melanesian pidgin, Ber Lager Nasser, Breton, Bulgarian, Burmese, Chinese, Mandarin, Chinese with French romanization of characters, Chinese pidgin, Czech, Danish, Dutch, Esperanto, French, Finnish, German, Greek, Hebrew, Hindustani, Hungarian, Irish, Icelandic, Italian, Japanese, Latin, Lithuanian, Malay, Middle English, Modern Greek, Norwegian, Old Church Slavonic, Old English, Old French, Old Icelandic, Old Norse, Persian, Portuguese, Provençal, Pan-Slavonic, Romani, Romanian, Romansh, Russian, Samoan, Sanskrit, Serbo-Croat, Shelta, Spanish, Swahili, Swiss, German, Turkish, Ukrainian, Volapük, an artificial language, Welsh, and English. Who are the characters in Finnegans Wake? Even though they're not characters in a conventional sense, they're a little too porous and malleable for that, we can say there are two principles. Anna Livia Pluribel, or ALP, a woman associated with the water who may date back as far as Eve, and her husband, Humphrey Chimpton Earwicker, or HCE, a man associated with the land who may date back as far as Adam. Together they have 2 sons and 1 daughter. We'll meet and talk about them all later in the novel. And there's one more thing I want to say about Finnegans Wake before we get into the first pages, and it's something that's not said nearly enough. Finnegans Wake is a comedy. Is it filled with puns? Abundantly. Are there puerile gags and fart jokes? Yes, there are. There are also moments that sound funny. We're not always sure why, yet somehow they tickle us. I often think of the Wake as a kind of Mother Goose for adults, taking us back to a pre-verbal state akin to that of a baby finding pleasure in a nursery rhyme. And the truth is, we, humans, are far from fully understanding what makes something funny, though the best explanation I've found is this. Laughter is ultimately not about getting the joke, but about getting along, which is a great way to think of this book that's so often read and shared with others. We may not always get Finnegans Wake, but we can certainly get along with it and each other. Maybe this is my roundabout way of saying, I'm glad you're here to share the novel with Richard and me. In a few minutes, we're going to hear Richard Harte read the opening pages of Finnegans Wake. The first page is a kind of overture to the entire novel, sounding out its motifs, including the cyclical fall and rise of humankind, love, desire, sin, family, the city of Dublin. I mentioned before that the so-called first line on page 3 is actually a continuation of the book's last on page 628, which explains why the opening word, riverrun, is not capitalized. It also explains why the word recirculation comes up in this opening sentence. I also mentioned riverrun as riverrun, a circular dream, another kind of recirculation. To that I'll add riverrun as a riverrun, or round shore, and indeed we'll hear the word shore in the novel's opening line. That is, the shore of Dublin's River Liffey. The river runs past certain places in Dublin in this opening line, including Adam and Eve's Church and Howth Castle. Edmund Epstein, in his Guide Through Finnegans Wake, describes the River Liffey here as flowing in reverse, away from the sea and back into Dublin Bay. Hence, Adam and Eve's Church becomes, quote, Eve and Adam's, followed soon by the word back. Marshall McLuhan has an equally ingenious take on the river's reverse flow in his first annotated copy of the Wake. He notes that back in the opening sentence sounds like Bach, as in Johann Sebastian, and Bach is German for brook, which is a stream or kind of river. So this river running backwards is also a river running Bach words, making Joyce's text a kind of verbal fugue. And I'll also state the obvious in this opening sentence that Eve and Adam, biblically speaking, are the world's original woman and man. There's so much more to say about the novel's opening line alone, but I'm going to move on now to point out a few things in the rest of the reading. Early on, we're going to hear a thunder word, a word comprised of 100 letters in many languages whose phonemes all mean thunder. Is this thunder the sound of Tim Finnegan falling off his ladder, or Adam and Eve falling from their original apple-eating sin? Or the thunder engendering the first frightened stutters of humanity at the prehistoric dawn of our speech, as theorized by the 18th century Italian philosopher Giambattista Vico, whose influence was so great on Joyce that we hear his name in the novel's second line? Or is this the sound of Humpty Dumpty falling off the wall? Humpty D will also make a cameo on the novel's first page, which ends with the word Livy, linking to the Liffey, to life, to love, and to Anna Livia Pluribel, the Eve of the novel. We'll then hear of heroic clashes in a paragraph that ends with the word Fiennish, spelled in a way that resembles phoenix, the mythological firebird that falls and rises again and again, the dynamic cycle central to Finnegans Wake. Then Tim Finnegan, the tipsy folk song character we heard about in our first podcast episode, makes an appearance along with a number of analogous characters or avatars, including HCE himself. And as we know from the song, he climbs his ladder only to fall down. We hear of this character's coat of arms, his gigantism, his drinking. And then the book asks, what brought about this sinful tragedy that led to his fall? Its answer is that while there may be 1,001 versions of the tale, we at least seem to know that, as in the folk song, Tim Finnegan, HCE, etc., fell to his death on a building site. That building is first called a collapsus, combining colossus and collapse, which doesn't sound especially auspicious. And later it's called an erection, which sounds a lot more exciting. So there's a sexual aspect to this downfall, much like the original sin of Adam and Eve. We then go to this man's wake, where mourners cry and sob and sing his praises and other songs. They place a bucket of whiskey at his feet and a barrel of Guinness at his head. And then in a kind of zoom out, we get a sense for the massive contours of this Finnegan or HCE character, described as a sleeping giant of the Dublin landscape stretching from head in Howth to toes in Chapel Lizard, a distance of about 12 miles or 20 kilometers. With his better half, the Liffey or ALP, right there beside him to awaken him. Not merely a giant, though, HCE becomes Christ-like, and like Christ, is the host or sacramental bread, or in this case, fish that can be eaten. And sure enough, those around him say, quote, grace before glutton, and chow down. The sleeping giant, now an eaten salmon, goes back to sleep like a kind of dinosaur, or Brontoichthyon, by the riverside. Then the clouds roll by and we zoom out even further for a bird's eye view of HCE and ALP's landscape, i.e. Dublin. And the green we see is Phoenix, there's that bird again, Phoenix Park, within which there's a large mound mass that also serves as a war museum. It's the, quote, Museo Mound, to which the admission is free, but we'll need a new character, Kate, to give us the tour. And that's where this episode's reading ends and episode 3 will begin. We could talk about these opening pages for days, but it's time to get to the text itself. For those who want more detail, I linked to some resources in the show notes. Do not worry if a lot of the reading rushes past you quickly. It's impossible to catch it all. And feel free to take solace in what Gertrude Stein had to say about Joyce's writing. Joyce is good. He is a good writer. People like him because he is incomprehensible and anybody can understand him. Richard Harte, our reader, is third generation in a family of actors and musicians. but I assure you he's still a lovely, kind person. And gifted, most certainly, at reading Joyce. Born in Ireland's capital and raised in both Dublin and Halifax, Nova Scotia, Richard has made Toronto his home for the past 25 years. He's performed on prestigious stages across Canada, hundreds of times with One Little Goat Theatre Company, and made numerous TV appearances. He's also a member of Toronto's Livia Company, performing Joyce's Ulysses every Bloomsday, June 16th. The opening pages from Chapter 1 were shot and recorded in 2022 in my home in Toronto with a small, and at that time all-masked, audience. It premiered at the Toronto Irish Film Festival, European Union Film Festival, and Bloomsday Film Festival at the James Joyce Centre in Dublin. And now it's time to welcome you all into my home for Richard's terrific reading of James Joyce's Finnegans Wake, page 3, line 1 to page 8, line 8 in Chapter 1.
Riverrun, past Eve and Adams, from swerve of shore to bend of bay, brings us by a commodious vicus of recirculation back to Howth Castle and environs. Sir Tristram, Violet de Moor, for over the short sea had passing Corey arrived from North Armorica on this side the scraggy isthmus of Europe Minor, to wield or fight his penis at war. Nor on Topsawyer's rocks by the stream O'Colney exaggerated themselves to Lawrence County gorges while they went Dublin their month were all the time. Nor a voice from a fire bellows Misha to Tuart Petrick. Not yet, though very soon after, had a kid's cad butt ended up bland old Isaac. Not yet, there was fair in Venessi, where sassy setters wrought with Twan Nathan Joe. Rod a peck a paws martyr gem Ursha and brood by arclight, and roary into the Regan brow was to be seen rinksome on the aquaface. The fall. Baba del Garata Camino Ron Con Blon Toleron to on Thon Trova Unans Gone to Order and the Knock of a once worn straight old par. Is retailed early in bed and later on life down through all Christian Minster 3. The great fall of the off-wall entailed at such short notice the shoot of Finnegan, ere solid man, that the Humpty Hill head of himself promptly sends an unquiring one well to the west in quest of his tumty tum toes, and the upturned pike pointing place is at the knockout in the park, where oranges have been laid to rust upon the green since Devlin's first loved Livia. What clashes here of wills gen won'ts, oystery gods, gagging fishy gods, breckirk, gekirk, gekirk, quawks, 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 wallu, 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 quew. Where the Batilary's partisans are still out to Master Malachus McGrains and the Verdens catapulting the cannibalistants out of the white boys of Hoodie Head. See Gates and Boomer and Stroms, sods brew, beanie fair. Sanglorian save, arms appeal with larms, Paulin, killy, at all. What chance cuddlies, what castles aired and ventilated, what bidden to loves induced by what Tigo T-Tabs Halvers. What true feeling of theirs hey with what strong voice of falsico. Oh, hear how it sproul met the dusk, the father of fornicationist spot. Oh, my shining stars and body. How hath fain span most high heaven the sky sign of soft advertisement. But was is you it? There were sewers. The oaks of Ab now they lie in peat, yet elms leap where askers lay. Fall if you but will, rise you must. And none so soon either shall the farce for the nuns come to a set-down secular finish. Big Mr. Finnegan, of the stuttering hand, Freeman's mourer lived in the broadest way imaginable, in his rush lit too far back before messages, before Joshua and judges had given us numbers, or Leviticus committed Deuteronomy. One yeasty day he stolely struck his debt in a tub for to watch the future of his fates, but ere he swiftly stuck it out again by the might of Moses. The very water was evaporated, and all the Guinness is a better exodus. So that ought to show you what a pension dukey chap he was. And during mighty odd years, this man of hard cement and edifices in topers tall pile build on, supra build on, pound the bags for the livers by the so-and-so. He had a little fifey and he owned a little crater. With her hair and hands took up your partner. Oft while Babulus mither the head with goodly trowel and grasp, and ivor oiled overalls which he had particularly fancied. Like Haroun Childeric Egabort, he would colligulate by multiplicables the altitude and multitude until he saw by neat light of the liquor where 'twas more. His round-head staple of other days, to rise in undress, masonry upstanded, duly granted. A wall where the squires skate most joyful, high fidelity, originating from next to nothing, and celestialating the himmels and all, our architecty tippy-top loftical, with a burning bush above off its bubble top, and little loddings of toolers clittering up, and tumbles of buckets clattering down. Of the first was he to bear arms in a name, was Seelig Boozleoch of Risengeborg, his crest of heraldry and worked with ancillars, troublant, argent, a he-goak, pursuivant, horrid, horned. His Scotsman fest with archers strong, Helio of the second, who just for husbandman handled in his hoe. Ho, Mr. Finn. You're going to be Mr. Finn again. Come a day more and out your wine. Sunday's Eve and your vinegar. Ha, Mr. Fun, you're going to be fined again. What then, agent like, brought about the Trogoldy Thundersday, this municipal sin business? Our cube house still rocks his ear witness to the thunder of his artificers, but we hear also through successive ages that shabby chai-rouche of unqualified muzzling missile hymns that would blackguardize the whitestone ever turtled out of heaven. Stay us wherefore in our search for righteousness, O sustainer. What time we rise and when we take up the tooth mick, before we lump down a pound of leather bedding in the night at the fading of the stars. For a nod to the neighbour is better than a wink to the babsanti. Other ways, west ways, like that provost scoven between the Jebel and the Japesian Sea. Crop herb the crunch bracken shall decide. Well, no, if a feast is a Friday. She has a gift of seek on sight. She casually answers helpers, the dreamy dearie. Heed. It may have been a misfired brick, as some say, or it may have been due to a collapses of his back promises, as others looked at it. There extend by now 1,001 stories, all told of the same. But so sore did Abe bite Ivy's hollowered apples. What with the Walsall's horrors of Rolls Royce, car hacks, stone engines, kissed veins, tram trees, Fargo ballers, auto kinnetons, hippo habilies, street fleets, touring taxis, megafogs, circuses and wards moats and bachelor kirks and aeropagods, and the hoists and the jolly brule and the peeler and the coat and the Mecklenburg bitch bite at his ear and the Merlinborough Burrocks and his 4 old poor coats to bar them all, and his light black working stacks at 12 pins a dozen, and the newbie buses sliding along 84th Street, and the dairy jellybees snooping around town Taylor's corner, and the fumes and the hopes and the stroppy thump of his vill's indigenous roam keepers, home sweepers, dome creepers, Durham and Fancyman, Murram, and all the uproar from all the elf roofs, a roof for me and a roof for you, but under his bridge shoots Tony. One morning filled fit tippling full, his head filled heavy, his heart did shake. There was a wall, of course, in erection. Dim, he stuttered from the latter. Damn, he was dud. Dumb. Master bad too, master bad Tom. When a man marries his lute is all long. For how the world to see. Shies, why should she? McCool, ira, why did ye die? Of a trying Thursday morning. Sobs they sided at Finnegans, Chris or Miss Wake. Ah, the hooligans of the nation, prostrated in their consternation and their due with dismally profuseless plethora of ululation. There was plums and grooms and cherries and citherers and rathers and cinnamon too. And they all joined in with a shout about joviality. Gagog and Magog and around of them a grog, to the continuation of that celebration until Hannon Hilligan's extermination. Some in King Corras, more can Canaan. Filling him up, filling him down. We stiff but he steady as prime all them. 'Twas he was a decent gay labour and you, sharp in his pillows, going tap up his beer. Where in this world would you hear such a din again? With dirty brow Finnegans and the dusty Fidelios. They laid him broad down a lad's bed, with a apocalypse of finisty flour at his feet, and a barrel load of Guinness sour at his head. To the tootle of the fluid hang the twaddle of the fuddle though. Hurrah, there is but young glee for the old globe wheels in view, which is tautologically the same thing. Well, him a being so on the flounder of his bulk, like an overgrown babeling, let we peep, see, at home. Well, CPG, platter plate. Hum. From Shapolis to Bailiwick, or from Ashton to Barrownorth, from by the bank to round the head, or from the foot of the bill to Ireland's eye, he calmly extensialize, and all the way a horn from fjord to fjell, oh, his bay winds of bubbles shall wail him rockbound, hoa, 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 in swim, swam, swum, and all the living long night, the dale, darkling night, the night of blurry bells, her flit of flute and tricky trochees, ocarina, wake him. With her Essevans and her patter Jack Martins about all them inns and houses, telling a tale of a tom, telling a tale of a 30-40 topping. Grace before glutton. Well, what we are gives a gross if we are about to believe. So pull the bag and pass the kish for cross-egg. Oh, man. So say us. Grandpapa's is falling down, but Grinny spreads the board. Where's on the joint of a dish? Fin full fun the fush. Where's be his bacon head? A loaf of Sing Pantry's Kennedy bread. And where's hitched to the hop of his tail? A glass of Daniel O'Donnell's forwards old Dublin and Below, as he would quaff off his fraud stuff and sink teeth through that pith of a flower white bowl, to behold of him as behaveth, for he is no mo. Finice. Only a photograph of a yestern scene, almost Rubicon Salmassalar. Ancient from out the ages of the Agapimonides, he is smoking in our midst, all becanned and packed away. So that meal's dead off for someone. Shuck, slice and good red herring. Yet may we not see still the Bronto-Wictian form outlined the slumber, even in our own night time, by the sedge of the troutland stream that Bronto loved, and Bronto has a lane on. Cuba Daedalus, apud libertinum parvulum. What if she be in flags or flitters, reeky rags or sun-dyed showsies, with a mint of minds or bigger a pennyweight? Ada sure we all love little Annie Rooney. Or we mean to say, love little Anna Rainey, when under her brother mid-piddle mid-puddle she ninny goes nanny goes nance away. Yo! Brontalone slaps, yo snores. Upon Ben Heather, and Sepal is out too, the chronic head on him, caster of his reasons, pay under in yon midst. Who's? His clay feet swarded in verdy grass, stick up stark where he last fed on him. By the mund of the magazine wall, where our Maggie's seen on, with her sister in shawl. While over against this Bell's Alliance beyond the 60 all allowed ill, bag sights of the fort, bum, tara bum, lurk the ambushes, the sight of the liffin in weight of the up jock and hockums. Hence, when the clouds rolled by, Jamie, a proud's eye view was enjoyable of our Moundings Mass, now Wallenstone National Museum, Within some greenish distance, the charmful Waterloo's country, and the two quite white villagettes who here show themselves so giggles amidst the foliages, the petalies. Penetrators are permitted into the museum now and free. Welsh and the Paddy Packinses, 1 shilling. Readers, members, invalids of all guard, fight, poos, pussy, proud to take the sword of their butt. For her pasky supply to the janitrix, the Mistress Kate. Tip.
That was my friend and colleague Richard Harte reading the beginning of Finnegans Wake, recorded live in Toronto on August 31st, 2022. Join us for episode 3 in a fortnight when Richard continues with the next 5 pages of Finnegans Wake, including the famous Musey Room scene. To be sure you don't miss the episode, why not follow or subscribe to this podcast? And for more on One Little Goat's Finnegans Wake project, including the liner notes and trailers for the films, visit our website at onelittlegoat.org. Finnegans Wake is made possible by friends of One Little Goat Theatre Company and the Immigrant Support Program of the Government of Ireland. Thank you for your support. And thank you to the artists for this episode: Richard Harte, sound by William Bembridge, podcast production by Sean Rasmussen, stage management by Laura Lakatosh, rehearsal stage management by Sandy Becker, directed by yours truly, Adam Seelig. Thanks to our live audience of Pip Dwyer, Kevin Kennedy, Kathy Murphy, Nomi Rothbard, Arlo Rothbard-Seelig, and thanks to our rehearsal audience of Jackie Chow, Jordy Kaufman, Andrew Moody, and Shai Rothbard-Seelig. Thank you to the Embassy of Ireland in Ottawa and the Irish Consulate in Toronto, and to production consultants Kathy Murphy and Andrew Moody. One Little Goat Theatre Company is a not-for-profit, artist-driven, registered charity. To find out more and to join our mailing list, please visit www.onelittlegoat.org. Thank you for listening.